Dira Chokuntuyo, Voj Guji, Global Impact.
Hello from Vermont in the United States. Welcome to Global Impact.
Hola, mi nombre es Sheila Escobedo. Me encuentro en la ciudad de Guatemala. Bienvenidos a la conferencia de Impacto Global.
مرحبا من اسطنبول وأهلا وسهلا بجلوبال إمباكت.
مرحبا، معكم سوسن من شيكاغو فلسطين. أهلا وسهلا بجلوبال إمباكت.
Saludos desde Santiago en Chile y bienvenido o bienvenida a Global Impact.
Hello from White Plains, New York in the United States. Welcome to Global Impact.
Pozdrowienia z Glasgow w Szkocji. Witaj w Global Impact.
Hello from Charlotte, North Carolina in the United States. Welcome to Global Impact.
Hello et bonjour from Alberta, Canada. Welcome to Global Impact.
Hello from Montreal and welcome to Global Impact.
Hello from Houston, Texas in the United States. Welcome to Global Impact.
Hello from Lynchburg, Virginia in the United States. Welcome to Global Impact.
Tēnā koutou katoa, no mai harimai ki te Global Impact. He mihi nui kia koutou mai I Turanganui a Kiwa, Aotearoa.
Hola, bienvenidos al Global Impact Conference en modalidad virtual. Mi nombre es Pedro Sánchez, soy estudiante del Colegio de Creolía Americano en el grado 10. Yo y mi compañero aquí, Juan Pablo, somos líderes del curso de sostenibilidad en High School.
¿Qué tal? Mucho gusto, mi nombre es Juan Pablo, yo soy de grado 12 y junto aquí con mi compañero hemos estado liderando el curso para poder mejorar la relación que tiene nuestra comunidad escolar con el medio ambiente.
Welcome to Global Impact Virtual Conference. I'm Martin Swall from Scotland. I am a member of the Global Impact organizing team, and I am the host for this session. This year, our theme is elevating the human story, putting human stories back at the heart of education. Through amplifying global educator voices, we will explore storytelling as pedagogy, leadership, and ethical technology use, connecting classrooms worldwide and centering dignity, equity, and lived experience in learning. We want to begin with a message of peace in these turbulent times. At Global Impact, we believe that education is one of the most powerful forces for peace in the world. Across borders, languages, and cultures, we come together not to agree on everything, but to listen, to learn, and to build something better together. In a time where division is easy, we choose connection. In a world that often speaks loudly, we choose to understand deeply. Each voice in this conference represents not just a country, but a commitment to compassion, curiosity, and shared humanity. Peace is not something we wait for. It is something we practice through dialogue, through collaboration, and through work we do with our students every day. This is our global impact. I'm honored to be part of the Global Impact community. Today alone, we have 34 presenters, 17 organizers working behind the scenes, all representing 22 countries across 6 continents. And that doesn't include all of you, the incredible participants taking part in today's session. When people from these many backgrounds and experiences come together, powerful things happen. Today isn't just about sharing ideas, it's about sparking connections, challenging perspectives, and driving meaningful change forward. Now onto our session. This session is in English. If you need to turn on the captions, please do so by following the directions using the link in the chat. We have an incredible lineup of speakers today, and this session's presenter is one of them. It's my pleasure to introduce Ella Obianuju. Ella is the founder of Flip Learn Kids, an edtech company based in Nigeria that deploys 21st century learning initiatives aimed at improving classroom learning experience for kids and the skills of educators through the use of technology. She is a Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert, United States Academy of Women alumni, and an associate with Digital Citizenship Institute, USA. Ella's philosophy: quality education is the right of every child, irrespective of the parent's economic strength. Her works and projects include Tech Skills App, a project that equips kids aged 9 to 17 years with tech skills in AI, coding, and digital design. Tech Skill App has trained 300 students since 2024 to date. Night Before Christmas, a global reading event that connects learners ages 5 to 16 years from different parts of the world to share the magic of Christmas via their personal Christmas traditions. In 2025, we reached a milestone of 200 books by 200 students showcasing their Christmas tradition. This was made possible by global collaboration. Inspire a Child, a social impact initiative tagged Inspire a Child. Since its inception 2015 to date, Inspire a Child has reached out to over 2,500 students from low-income parents and equipped them with tech skills and mentoring opportunities. Global Hour of Code, a global program that equips kids around the world with coding skills in partnership with Mackenzie's Adventures USA. Ella is also a Teach SDGs ambassador and a Microsoft Initiative Educator expert. Ella, take it away.
Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure for me. I'm so excited being here because I remember a couple of years back when we had something similar with the global ISDE playground. It was an opportunity to share. So I'm not going to bore you all. Thank you to the team for putting this together and for the amazing audience. I'm really happy and excited to share the journey of Fliplearn Kids. So like I was introduced, I'm here to talk about what we've been able to do in the area of literacy. So a little bit about myself before I dive in. So Obianuju, as I was introduced at. So first of all, I'm a mom. Being a mom made it possible for me to find myself in this environment, having kids, supporting my kids into school. My very first journey in technology and education came through the lens of my kids, supporting them in school and realizing that learners are different. And because they are different, there are ways at which each of them consume learning materials. And that was how the Fliplearn Kids journey started. So yes, as the director of learning Fliplearn Kids, my work has always been to bring accessibility, regardless of location, regardless of border, no barrier. A consultant working with organizations, schools to facilitate learning, a global educator, yes, and an edtech enthusiast. So moving on, whatever we do in Fliplearn Kids, we try as much as possible to align it to the SDGs. Our key focus has been on the SDGs 4, because I believe that for me, quality of education is the right of every child, irrespective of the parents' and economic and background. Because when kids come into this world, they don't choose where they find themselves. And that means that education is their right, and any way organizations can actually pitch in to make sure that the child gets what they need is very, very important. And that's why SDGs 4 is so close to my heart. And the global goal, which is SDGs 17, partnership. Partnership has been one of the amazing things that have actually helped us go far. There's this African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go very, very far, you go together with people. So I don't know for the audience if you have similar proverb, because it's always stuck the African proverb. And I know that with the global impact story, we have people from different parts of the world. So if you're watching and if you have similar word or philosophy or adage from where you're coming from, please, I would like you to put it in the chat so that we can share, because I know that when it comes to education, It's something that is global to everybody. We all feel it, and regardless of the language you speak, regardless of the continent where you are in. So whatever it is from your end, so please feel free to put it in the chat box. But these are the premises on which most of the work we do at Flipline Kids stand for. And these are a couple of the things that inspire what we do. So when we look at the SDGs standards that we follow, we believe that empowering the learners are very key. And when you look at what we do, our programs allow learners take active role during the session. Gone are the days when the teacher becomes the omni knowledge, just teaching, pouring out, and the students soaking in, because there are a lot of things that happen when we give children the voice, or the learners the voice. I've seen myself learning during a couple of our programs from an interesting perspective. In fact, there were some instances where we started a project, and along the line, the learners were like, oh, can we do it from this angle? Can we look at it from this perspective? And it's always been rewarding, because most times when students are empowered to take initiative to also lead, it motivates the rest of them, and they're able to speak out. From a digital citizenship perspective, learners, they demonstrate inclusive interaction, where you see them work together, using the tools provided to them. When we also look at the area that we help build on, because we believe that literacy is no longer a solo skill anymore. In the current age where we are, learners become knowledge constructors. They are able to produce creative writing projects, reading projects, which helps them to see how meaningful their learning experiences are. And the interesting thing is, this pathway allows them the power of reflection, right? And they also become innovative designers, where through various technologies that we leverage. The good thing is, technology has made it a level playing ground. In the course of our work, we've been able to have our students access resources like the Wakelet, Book Creator, the Night Zookeeper platform, and our own very localized LMS, which has allowed them create creative, authentic works that they're able to do what? Go back to, and at the end of the, beyond just going back to it, they're able to reflect and showcase, share with friends, share with their community what they've been able to do. And ultimately, they also have the choice of which platform they use, because we realize that the learners are different. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Yes, we believe some of them have different styles. Some are visual, auditory. So when we run programs, we allow them different opportunities or pathways to be able to represent what they want to work on, which has been very impactful for us. So when we look at literacy is changing. When we first started, it was more of the paper, the pen approach, but it wasn't giving us what we wanted, because we wanted a scenario where kids can actually feel comfortable in their own skin. And like I said, being a mom was more like the lens from which the Flipline Kids story started. And seeing what it was like for my kids as well, it was the same being in the classroom. The old definition no longer applies anymore, because it has gone beyond the paper and pen, the chalk and the board. And students were looking at different ways to do what? To represent themselves. And one of the things that I've come to realize, that even during my own time, creative writing wasn't something that comes easy. Reading also, sometimes for us in Africa, it was really a bit of an interesting pathway. And we started looking for ways to make it gamified, interesting, etc. And that's how we came to realize that kids work better when they work in a community. That's number one. Beyond the fact they work in a community, when it's also less with technology, it also gives them that ability to play in an environment that suits them. Because these kids were born in an age where you have technology, and what other way are they able to create things that meet their own standards? So we moved away from the traditional view, whereby it was a case of, yes, pen and paper. So we realized that reading and writing as individual wasn't cutting it anymore. They wanted to do what? Work in a community where they're able to interact. play with platforms that are able to communicate with them. Today's reality has shown us that literacy is collaborative, it's cross-border, and is also technology mediated. A couple of projects that we run has also come to do what justify this, to say that literacy thrives if it's reading, if it's writing. It thrives in an environment where kids are able to work together, go with their peers, have communication that can show them different perspective. Because we've always believed the fact that, yes, we all can travel, but at least in your classroom, you can travel to as many continents as you want to go to, because technology has enabled that. So when we look at the changes, we realize that yes, the gap is there. Most classrooms teach for an audience of one, where you have the teacher and the students. But the landscape we find ourselves in has changed tremendously. That is not longer a case of the teacher and the audience, not at all, because students are finding themselves in an era where there are a couple of resources that they can pick out for. So realizing that the gap of having the teacher and the audience is no longer there, what do we do? What did we do differently? What did we change? And the opportunity was the fact that we had a global audience looking for people to communicate with, transforming purpose, giving these kids their voices to become who they are and in their own skin. So when we first started, because we knew that accessibility was one of the most critical things for kids, our approach was literacy in a box. For every school that we go into, if you look at the pictures that we have here, we have our devices, we have our connectivity, because I know, yes, sometimes when people want to do collaborative activity in Africa, the first thing they're asking you, oh, how is connectivity, blah, and how is devices? So we wanted to cut short that gap. We didn't want schools, we didn't want parents, we didn't want communities to bother themselves with how do we bridge this gap. Yes, the traditional method wasn't working anymore because the kids were really looking for something that they can connect with. And we wanted them to also do what? Interact with kids from different parts of the world. So we came with our own approach of everything in the box. We had our devices, our connectivity, and then we planned out sessions where we had educators, schools that were eager to work with us. So if you look here, you're going to see us working with kids. You'll see on the screen one of the sessions where we had an author who came in virtually to do a reading program with the kids, and then the kids were able to do a reflective summary on what they have learned, and also made it possible for them to also come up with their own creative writing summary. These sessions, whenever we have it, it gives me so much joy, because looking at the faces of these kids, it's like a light bulb moment, an aha moment. They don't see it as an academic journey that must be intense in the traditional way. They see it as something that is new, refreshing. It's just like having a breath of fresh air, that every time we have our literacy sessions with them, they are super excited, working on their devices. And these were kids that before, when you ask them, okay, do a summary, do a creative writing, a poetry, it was hard for them. You see some sitting for a while trying to think, oh, where do I start from? But introducing the devices, listening with global collaboration, where we had authors, educators, schools coming in virtually, like you can see on the screen that we have here, it sparked something new that made it possible for them to do what? Have their creative minds at work, and it came effortlessly, that they were ready to go on and on and on. And this was more like the game changer for us. So yes, we thought about changing something. We wanted something that could actually appeal to the learners, regardless of whatever choices they wanted to make. But ultimately, there were pillars that guided our global literacy pathway. We wanted a real audience where students can not just write for themselves, where students can not just read or engage themselves. We wanted them to connect with peers across the world, the continent, not just their teacher. It gave them an authentic purpose, whereby they were always looking forward to, what's the next country I'm going to work with? Who are those people I'm going to collaborate with in my next class? And it also created a cultural empathy, whereby people realize that, yes, I am in this part of the world, but some other part of the world where I have a student like myself, this is what it's like. So it built that sense of empathy where kids were also able to take perspective, and then it gave them access to intercultural fluency. We had instances whereby we worked with classrooms in India, classrooms in the United States, and I myself had also taken sessions with kids in different parts of the world as well. And it felt refreshing because we were able to learn what were the different perspectives, but above all, safety and ethical use of tech was also one of the pillars that we layer everything that we're doing. So privacy and security of this students paramount for us. Each particular session, there's always an educator supporting, and ultimately we also don't allow them access to things that will put their data at risk. We ensure that every student operated in a platform that was safe, regardless of their zip code, and they were able to participate responsibly. So how has this literary or literacy collaboration journey been like? So when we first started in 2016, we had that opportunity to do a lot of global exchange sessions on our literacy program using Skype. We did a whole lot from Skype. For some of us then, I don't know, for a lot of us that use Skype in the classroom, if you did, I would like to see that in the comment. So we had the Skype in the classroom collaborative session that made it possible for kids to do what? Expand their reach in terms of who they worked with educators they work with students like themselves. And then we knew what happened with Skype. Then the flip grade gave them opportunity to be able to do their reflections using video. Fast forward, we partnered with elementary. Some educators might have used this platform. So with elementary, our students were able to produce authentic writing and media and storytelling for real peer audience. In fact, during one of our engagements with elementary, we had one of our students winning a particular contest above all other students that participated from different parts of the world. And it kind of motivated them to see that all these efforts were not in vain. It's actually paying off. So before, kids in Africa and Nigeria never thought of the global stage because it was just a case of me, my little classroom, in my little world, and that was just what mattered. But when we had the session with elementary and we had one of our students that came tops, and they also won the prize for the art contest that happened, it was one of those moments that made parents to say, something nice is happening here. We would like to see more with our kids. We'd like to see more with our students. And we also had schools who were also happy working with us. Then with Spaces, yes, we also had our own time with Spaces, where we collaborated with Spaces on one of our literacy program. But the most beautiful thing about this is that it gave the students an opportunity to talk about things like empathy, global peace, yes, through the lens of literacy. We had them connect with classrooms like themselves locally and internationally. And then in recent times, doing a whole lot of cultural exchange program with our very own partner, McKinsey Adventures. We've been able to build a lot of events whereby these kids have showcased what they were capable of doing, and they had a lot of other schools that participated and had an interesting journey. So moving on, having seen what we've been able to do, and because we also wanted to ensure that we created a safety opportunity for kids, we wanted to make sure that whatever data that we have access to, safety was one of it. So we integrated the Fliplearn Kids LMS that makes it easy for these kids to have their work featured on our platform, and being able to share in a space that they know that their passwords, their usernames were all safe with the data privacy protection on it. Because like we mentioned before, safety is one of the framework that we operate in, because we know in the digital age what happens with data and privacy for kids. We need to protect them. So as you can see, these are some of the reflections that came through some of the works that our kids participated in. So this happened in 2020, and here it was one of our virtual summer camps. We used them Padlet then. I know a lot of us who have used it. So if you're watching an educator wherever you are, I would also like to see what are those collaborative tools or platforms that you used. So here we use Padlet, and you can see how amazing it was for the students. So we had a virtual summer session in 2020 on literacy, creative writing, and reading, and we had tons of positive feedback for the students. For some of them, this was more like a first time collaborating globally, and it was mind-blowing seeing how they felt sharing their own experience. So moving on in 2022, okay, I can see how important. Yeah, thank you very much, Margaret. Honestly, it was very, very interesting. So I remember saying that we collaborated with Spaces. So with Spaces, we had a global collaboration on literacy, talking about empathy and kindness. And at the end of the session, we had the kids, we paired them up with other schools within the community where they had to not just write, not just read, they had to also exchange gifts with peers like themselves within the same community. And it was really nice. So for us, global collaboration has helped to take literacy out of the classroom, not just sitting in the walls, but making students to connect the dots beyond the classroom. There are many ways you can actually pivot your literacy program in schools, and that's what we've been able to achieve. And we've never had a session whereby we finished and we didn't see that spark or that light in the face of the learners. It's always been interesting. So moving in 2022, I talked about the competition we had with elementary, the school that we worked with, and this was the write-ups that these kids submitted. And like I tell you, if you just ask them to, yes, thank you very much, to just ask them to write, it was always a tough process. But when you pair it up with the global collaboration, the idea, their creative mindset comes to play. You are actually waking up the sleeping giant in these kids, and that's what we've come to see. So one of the interesting sessions that we had that was also mind-blowing for us was our literacy collaboration session that we had December 2025, tagged the night before Christmas. We partnered with McKinsey Adventure, Jaritza. It was a total ball game altogether. So we set out trying to achieve 50 engagements, and we ended up with a whooping 200 participation from kids in Nigeria, kids in the UK, kids in Ghana, in the US. When we first started, we said, okay, let's reach the 50 milestone of published books on Christmas. What is a Christmas culture, where you're coming from, talking about food, talking about outfit, talking about the Christmas spirit. And we set a target. From 50, we found ourselves going to 100, from 100, whooping 200. So you can see what these kids were able to do. People talked about their culture, their food, etc. And when you look at the other side, you can see one of the literacy collaboration event also that happened. So this was with Night Zookeeper in the UK. We've been with them for so long. Our kids are able to collaborate, writing stories, sharing their diary, their journey. So you can see here, we had one competition where they were ranking number 3. It always gives them that joy when they see themselves on the global map. There are a lot of ways to motivate learners to be who they are, especially from that young age. We had kids who were writing because they knew that they were going to be featured, they were going to be published, and that kind of gave them the charge to continue to move on. So over the years, we've had some collaboration heroes that we would like to mention and say thank you for what they've been able to do working with us together. McKinsey Adventure has been one of our amazing partners. We've been able to do a lot of collaborative projects where our kids have been able to do what? Tell their stories, read from different authors from different parts of the world, write as well, talk about English, in as much as in some instances, some kids are not, their first language wasn't English, but they were able to pivot because our program usually creates accessibility. So with Book Creator, kids can actually use audio to share their reflection. They can use audio to also do their creative write-ups. So our platform always gives them different opportunities, different pathways to be able to work. So we've had a lot of shout outs to different organizations and schools around the world who have been able to do what? Make this possible. So for us, we believe that the old way of teaching literacy, it's no longer holding forth. And there's a new pathway that encourages that classroom beyond border. So regardless of where these kids are, regardless of their zip code, every student deserves a global audience. We believe that, yes, we can bring our kids to that global stage because regardless of your location, whether you're in the urban area or you're in the countryside, there's always something there. Title or district do not matter. Schools are schools, regardless of where you find yourself. It's the same access that all these kids need. It's the same global stage that we also want them to play in because technology is making things move fast and we don't want these kids to be left behind. Not at all, because a time will come when we'll finish our own path, we're going to bow out and then they will take the center stage. So the thing they're also going to remember is how well did we position them to be able to take this global stage? Giving their multilingual voices that superpower, because you have some kids that are English language learner too, who also have been able to use this opportunity to improve. And one interesting thing is whatever platform we use, accessibility is one of those things that is very important to us. So if it's something that the students want a transcription because they're able to just read, that is also made possible. If it's something that they just want the audio, that is made possible. If it's something they want that visual aspect, yes, we give them that access to play in an environment where there's equality. One interesting thing is this pathway has given us the impact. We've seen kids who are able to do what? Revise their work more than before, because before, when it was just a paper and pen, kids were getting tired of seeing those red marks, seeing those red cross on their papers. And it's something that is really frustrating. But layering it with global collaboration, they've always been eager to go back because they want to see themselves topping the charts. They want to see themselves growing in ranks. They also want to see themselves taking that center stage. It has also created an opportunity for students to do what? Show empathy, understanding with their peers, and ultimately we've been able to reach 4+ continents, and we keep growing, looking for ways that we can amplify our student voices, helping them to grow their literacy skill, because no matter how you look at it, literacy is important as much as numeracy as well. Yeah, thank you very much, Margaret. So for us, that has always been at the back of our mind. So like I always said, we need to do technology right, following the ISTE standards for education. We always been advocating for having it safe, ethical and inclusive, giving all learner the same playing field regardless of your ability. Accessibility is one of the things we have at the back of our mind. So data privacy is what we stand for, ensuring that every program that we deploy, whatever we do with the students, yes, we have an educator or a teacher that is supervising. We follow the ISTE standard as well to make sure that we have an empowered learner and we have communicators who are able to do what? Use these resources in a positive way. Above all, we also try as much as possible to follow a project-based learning pathway so that we can measure the outcome, the impact, and be able to also share with others. So why am I talking about this? Because I also want to see other educators that we can join forces with, because this is replicable. It also gives an opportunity to assess learners and see where they're excelling and where we need to prop them up a little bit. Above all, it has given us an opportunity for a community access because we've been able to collaborate with different educators and the numbers keep going. So what is next for us? I hope I haven't spoken too fast because I'm trying as much as possible to keep to my timing. So what are those next big things that we are looking out for? So come this year as well, in December, we are also going to be running live again with our second edition of the Night Before Christmas like we had last year. And we're looking forward to educators, school and communities that will want to join us to drive the Night Before Christmas program, because it's an interesting way to open up reading, talk about the Christmas experience with kids around the world. And also our STEM for Change program. So STEM for Change is a program that we've partnered with McKinsey Adventure that focuses on building workforce readiness and career pathways for kids in middle and high school, junior and senior secondary, depending on wherever you're coming from. There are different nomenclatures for different countries. So we put this project-based learning together, supporting McKinsey to drive STEM. Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, it will be lovely. I'm going to share the QR code so that you can see, and then we can connect and talk more about it. So with STEM for Change, STEM for Change is 6 weeks. Thank you so much. It's a 6-week program where McKinsey, Flipland Kids, joining forces with schools, bring the STEM for Change to the classroom. So in summary, for me, your classroom belongs to the world. Your classroom is waiting for the stage. Students are waiting for that global stage. The audience is waiting. Technology is ready. Let's connect. So we'll look forward to connecting with each and every one of you that have joined on this amazing live session. If you scan the QR code, it will also give you access to connect with us. Like I mentioned before, for the STEM for Change, if it's something that you're also interested in and would like to know more, the website is here to connect with us so that you can learn more about STEM for Change and how you can also be part of it. And ultimately, for the night before Christmas, the QR code is here. So your classroom belongs to the world, and we're super excited to see how we can all work together, because we believe that the old tradition is no longer holding sway at all. So it's a new pathway whereby global collaboration has helped students to go as far as they want to go in what they want to do. Thank you very much. And that's all for me. Thanks. So I'll wait for this. Any questions or comments? I'll be super happy. You can connect with us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, on our tag and Flipland Kid. Flipland Kid. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was really amazing, Ella. I think based on the comments, I think so many people were excited. They want to learn a lot from you, and surely they want to introduce in their own teaching. And maybe a few things from me, what I learned that probably I would like to learn when I was a teenager. Well, the students like work in community and in the environment that suits them, as you mentioned. That literacy is something collaborative. There's no like just for themselves. It's to communicate with others. You are teaching them to and building 21st century skills like writing for real audience, connecting with students from different countries, but at the same time not compromising safe and ethical use of technology. That's really, really impressive. So thank you, Ella, for joining us today and sharing your expertise with us. And this year, we want to highlight incredible stories from around the globe of how educators are making a global impact in their classrooms. Our pre-recorded spotlight story is Amia from the USA, and will explore the topic of building global change, one student voice at a time. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Amia, and I'm a junior at Ridge High School in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Education is one of the most important forces in the world. It matters just as much in every corner of it. Whether you're an educator from Basking Ridge, where I'm from, or from a rural region in the middle of India, the goal is the same: to prepare students to succeed after graduation. So when I was in kindergarten, I walked into my cousin's house wearing my favorite shirt. My cousins, one was in 3rd grade and the other in 7th at the time, took one look at me, and then they just burst out laughing, shaking their heads. And I couldn't figure out what could possibly be so funny. I was so proud of this shirt. I mean, who wouldn't be proud of a shirt that in giant letters across a bunch of crayons said, "I love school"? Apparently, literally everyone older than the age of 5. You love school? Are you okay? Do you also love getting shots at the doctor? And then my older cousin said something that really stuck with me. Enjoy it while it lasts, because once you're our age, you'll hate it too. Except when I actually got to third grade, I still loved school. My cousins looked at me like I was some kind of alien. But it wasn't me that was different. It was my school. I went to a Montessori school. Montessori was kind of magical for me. In third grade, we spent the entire year studying Native American cultures. But it wasn't just in history class. In music, we spent the year working on a play that we performed. In English, we read stories, we researched, and we wrote. In science, we studied food and resources. I spent months creating an entire portfolio on Sacagawea, my favorite Native American historical figure. It consisted of articles, drawings, citations, everything. And at 8 years old, I was completely obsessed with Sacagawea. I mean, who else can say that? But here's the remarkable part. I still remember that year in crystal detail. I can still sing the Lewis and Clark song. But if you asked me what I learned in seventh grade, completely blank. That's the power of Montessori. Learning felt like an adventure. Reading was fun because I chose my books. Writing was fun because it wasn't 5-paragraph formulas. Math wasn't worksheets, it was puzzles. Science wasn't memorizing facts, it was learning through experiences. Teaching and explaining concepts to each other was part of the process. And this reinforced understanding and it helped me build confidence in myself. Yeah, not every teacher is Montessori trained, but the same principles can be applied anywhere. Student choice, curiosity, collaboration, and peer teaching doesn't require some kind of a special classroom. They just require believing that kids are capable of driving their own learning. Unfortunately for me, that joy didn't last forever. As I got older, school changed. And suddenly it wasn't about learning anymore, it was about testing. Reading turned into chapter quizzes. Writing became rubrics, formulas, and word counts. It was all 5-paragraph formulas. Math became worksheet after worksheet. But then, one day came my 8th grade language arts class. In this one period a day, everything felt different again. The class was some sort of a year-long passion project. So we had assignments along the way that all related to that chosen topic, which could change many times throughout the year. And we still covered all of the important skills. We read books, we researched, we gave presentations, we got to write, but we learned also how to use AI as a tool to spark our thinking, to push us to think deeper and ask better questions. And the year ended with the final assignment of building a TED Talk, the very thing that I now love to do on my own whenever I present at conferences and work on public speaking skills. This class just lit something up in me. It reminded me of what school used to feel like. It was fun, it was creative, and it was actually motivating because we were learning about what I wanted to learn about. And in that moment, I realized that school doesn't have to be boring. It can still spark joy. We've just chosen to make it different. And so that moment was my turning point. Instead of just accepting school the way it was, I started imagining how it could change. So, what's the point of school? If you ask me, it's not about memorizing a bunch of facts that I'll probably forget in a year. And it's not even about grades. The point is to prepare us for the real world, to grow curious, motivated, capable people that are excited to learn because we want to learn more about these topics. But here's the problem. So many classrooms accidentally crush curiosity instead of actually sparking it. But the solution isn't more drills, more homework, or stricter rules. It's creating the kinds of experiences that actually light kids up, experiences that I would still remember 10 years later, just like my Sacagawea project. That's why I loved school so much as a kid. That's why I loved math. That's why I believe that it's possible still to make school a place that kids can actually love again. Ever since that 8th grade spark, I've focused on bringing creativity and innovation into classrooms because that's what has excited me the most. And after getting a glimpse of how powerful learning could be, I could not settle for the old traditional way of school. I knew I had to start small at my own school, but also think big at the same time. I began by hosting professional development sessions for teachers, and then I was invited to an AI task force district board of education meeting to actually help rewrite our district's AI policy, where I got to help bring technology into classrooms responsibly. But as I spent more and more time working locally at my own school, I realized that the potential for something a lot bigger was still there. If change could just start in one classroom, like what happened to me in my 8th grade class, why can't it happen in schools everywhere? That's when I co-founded Students for Innovation. It started as just like a platform for students like me, students who saw how AI and technology could improve learning and wanted to advocate for it to teachers across the country. But it grew really fast. Now, Students for Innovation is a global platform where students push for what they want in the classroom, from gamified learning to financial literacy to better support for dyslexia. We speak at conferences like this one, reminding teachers that students and the voice that students have is what matters, and that how we want to learn is what should shape the classroom. Because here's the truth. If one teacher, one class could completely reshape my life, imagine what's possible if every teacher listens to their students. So, what can you do starting tomorrow? You can give students real choice in how they show what they've learned. You can help them use AI in a way that actually makes them think deeper, like using it to brainstorm ideas, question assumptions, or even compare different perspectives instead of just giving them answers. You can ask them what makes learning fun for them, but not just ask and take that advice, but act on it. Listen and actually make a change in your curriculum. You can turn one worksheet into a project, one unit into some sort of an adventure for each student. Incorporating project and inquiry-based learning is just the first step. It doesn't take destroying an entire curriculum to do this. It just starts with one small shift.
Listening to this reminded me how powerful learning becomes when students are given real choice and curiosity is treated as the engine for learning. What stood out to me most was how one meaningful class can completely redirect a student's path. And the biggest takeaway is simple. When we trust students with agency, they don't just learn more, they are becoming the leaders of their own learning. Thanks again for joining this live session as part of the Global Impact Virtual Conference. From our whole global team, we are so grateful for your participation. Please continue with us today at Global Impact by joining the next live session. You can find more information about all our live presenters on our website at www.globalimpacteducators.org. Our next presenter is Kara Frey from Canada, and the session begins at the top of the hour. We'd also like to invite you to join us at the 2026 ESTE and ASCD conference. Whether you are joining live or virtually, we will have content for you. We will have sessions and a group meetup. Make sure to follow us on social media for more details launching soon. We also have a discount code for you. Use the code in the chat by May 1st when registering for $25 off a virtual registration. Thanks ISTI and ASCD for the little gem. Lastly, follow us on social media. We are on most major channels at Global Impact Educators. You can also find us on our website at www.globalimpacteducators.org. Thanks again for joining. See you at the top of the hour for the next session.